free the land on another great day of resistance. On this date, I will be honoring the transitional date, February 17th, 1900, of the father of the Exodusters, one of the early Pan-Africanists, one of the earliest revolutionary nationalists, one of the earliest organizers, abolitionists out of the state of Tennessee, who led thousands of enslaved New Africans to what we know today as the Middle America, Midwest, the gateway to the western part of the United States of America. I'm talking about no other than the great revolutionary nationalist Benjamin Pap Singleton, who also was a great businessman, who was a land liberationist. Benjamin Pap Singleton was born into slavery in 1809 in what we know today as Davison, Tennessee, to an African mother and a white father. Most of Benjamin Pap Singleton's childhood is unknown, but we do know he tried to successfully escape slavery 3 times. On the final escape, he would escape in 1846 and make his way on the Underground Railroad to Ontario, Canada, where he stayed there for like a year. Then he would escape from there to Detroit, where he would lay low in Detroit for another year. There in Detroit, he would found a safe house and a boarding school for other fugitive slaves who was escaping slavery from Tennessee, the Upper South, and the Deeper South states. Benjamin Pap Singleton would later return to Tennessee in 1862. There he became a new African laborer, a cabinet maker, a coffin maker, a freedman, looking for equality amongst white people in Tennessee. Seeing that he could not get no freedom or no equality and no justice in Tennessee at that point in period in time, and disgusted by political leaders, he later would join up forces with a reverend by the name of Columbus Johnson, seeking to establish black economic independence. By 1874, seeing that there was going to be no economic independence and equality in Tennessee, he would start what we know today as the Edgefield Real Estate Association with other African people. After he created this association, he started seeking for land in Nashville, Tennessee. There in Nashville, Tennessee, these white landowners was not willing to negotiate land and bargain land with Benjamin Pap Singleton. There is when he realized that black people had to leave the South because there was going to be no economic independence and no land equality. So in 1876, him and others of the Edgefield Real Estate Association went out to Kansas to seek and find land to start setting up black settlements all across Kansas. Leading us up until 1879 to 1881, this period was labeled as the Great Exodus, where Benjamin Pap Singleton and B.A. McClure would lead over 50,000 freedmen, 50,000 former enslaved Africans to Kansas, Missouri, Indiana, and Illinois, labeling them as the Great Exodusters, one of the greatest movements in the history of New African revolutionary nationalism, and the greatest history where a people migrated from one part of a country to another, from the South to the Middle America, Midwest, and the Middle States. By 1880, Benjamin Pap Singleton was called to testify in front of the United States Congress, where he would tell them and defend the Exodusters movement to that middle part of the United States of America by stating to the United States Congress that my people had no land, my children had no land, so our movement is justified. By 1881, so many black people immigrated to that region and territory of Kansas that it was too many people financially to take care of. So Benjamin Pap Singleton had to give up the project and the land to the Presbyterian Church, who would later take over that project and land. Benjamin Pap Singleton started to get older, where he would later found the CUL in order to establish black businesses, black schools, and things of that nature in Topeka, Kansas. Seeing that didn't work and it failed, Benjamin Pap Singleton would later get up with 2 black businessmen and a minister, and would later try to formulate a plan and propose that black people migrate to an island called the Cypress Island in the Mediterranean Seas. By 1885, the great Benjamin Pap Singleton would later move to Kansas City, where he would start the United Transatlantic Society, an organization that was predicated on the basis of Pan-Africanism. There, he argued that black people should migrate back to Sierra Leone or Liberia. He would come in between the hairs and cross paths of the great brother Henry McNeil Turner, at that point in time, who also was an advocate of migration back to Africa. By the end of 1887, the United Transatlantic Society had folded, and they never sent anyone back to Africa. Benjamin Pap Singleton became ill. By 1889, he lifted his voice one last time for black nationalism and revolutionary nationalism. He advocated that all black people move to the all-black state of Oklahoma to set up an independent new African nation. After that didn't succeed, Benjamin Pap Singleton would later transition to the ancestors February 17, 1900. So I want to send salutations to the great revolutionary nationalist, Benjamin Pap Singleton, land liberationist. May his revolutionary spirit live forever. Free the land by any means necessary.